First of all, I'd welcome you guys, everybody that's here this morning. I appreciate you guys uh, coming and visiting and listening and, partaking of our professional development and some of the presenters today. I have Eileen as one of the presenters, and of course, Clayton is going to give us an update on the Navajo language and the upcoming government class. The Urban Indian Center is going to give us an update on what's going on there, and we're going to have a round of updates for you guys to share with each other. And I just got one little thing to share with you guys, and then we'll adjourn until next month. So I asked Meredith to provide us with a cultural reverence this morning, and she accepted it. And so let me give her the floor, and then we'll go from there. Okay, Meredith.
Okay, I'm guessing that everybody can hear me. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. You never know. Sometimes you can hear me, sometimes you can't. So just wanted to make sure that I was being heard by everybody. As you guys all know, this Monday is Martin Luther King Day. So Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And it's always such an interesting, I always have these thoughts about what he stood for and what he fought for. And kind of just like looking into it this past week, one thing that I don't think we do know is how he was a big advocate for desegregation of Native Americans. Um, as Native people, he inspired a lot of modern day movements for Native rights. Um, and so, one story that really, uh, you know, I thought was really interesting was, I guess in the 1950s, he collaborated with the tribal leaders of the Porch Brand Creek Indians. He helped them towards desegregating their schools in southern Alabama. The tribe reached out to him after learning of his desegregation campaign in Birmingham, and he immediately became involved. Um, at that time, lighter skinned Native children were allowed to ride the school buses. They were allowed to, because they were white passing, they were allowed to attend. Uh, so anything that was, you know, not segregated, they were allowed to attend as white passing. Um, but the darker skinned Native children from the same tribe, they were not allowed to ride the same buses, even though all the children were coming from the same, you know, some of the same communities, same areas. So with the intervention, the Native children from that porch band were allowed to ride the buses, no matter their skin color, and that marked a major step towards desegregation. As quiet as it is, there was a large number of Native Americans, um, uh, who obviously recognized what he did and followed. And so I think this whole movement of civil rights and being peaceful, um, it inspired a lot of uh, future Native American right movements of the 1960s and 1970s. Um, so just my thought, I just, was thinking about um, when you think about Monday, and when we have that day off, um, I think it's always neat to kind of connect where he intersected with Native American people. Um, and then this was a quote that he was quoted. He said, "Our nation was born in genocide when it embraced the doctrine that the original American, the Indian, was an inferior race."
Is it as much Spencer's taking me out?
Oh, sorry.
Well,
Did
I feel
somebody have a question? Maybe somebody had their mic on. Um, Even before there were large numbers of Negroes in our shores, the scar of racial hatred had already disfigured colonial society. From the 16th century forward, blood flowed in battles of racial supremacy. We are perhaps the only nation which tried as a matter of national policy to wipe out its indigenous population. Moreover, We elevated that tragic experience into a noble crusade. Indeed, even today, we have not permitted ourselves to reject or feel remorse for this shameful episode. Our literature, our films, our drama, our folklore all exalt it. And so just remembering his legacy, um, his legacy of justice, his legacy of humanity, and everything that he did as far as, moving forward and showing that um, we could peacefully come to, a moment where we could um, come together. Just think about that. And so that's just kind of my thought today is when you come on Monday, maybe that's something that you can share with your kids or your students. I think it's just, I always try to look and see where, you know, I know Native American history is American history, but what is taught in the school books, not all stories are shared. And so I get excited when I learn about these stories of how, you know, um, these amazing leaders in American history intersected with our people. So that's just my thought.
Okay, very, very good. I'm very thoughtful. Thank you, Meredith. That was a good beginning for us. And again, Monday is a time where we can reflect on that. Thank you again, Meredith. So let's go on. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to give the time to Dustin, and
Hey,
Dustin can take it from here.
thank you. I need to share my screen, but it doesn't look like I have those privileges to share my screen today.
Okay, Madeline, could you help us out here?
Um, you should be able to share your screen.
Yeah, it when I put my things, only meeting organizers and presenters can share. That's what it's given me. Let me log off and I'll try it again.
Here, hold on, hold on.
Okay.
Let
Oh, there
me.
it is.
I just
Got it.
changed something. Did it work now?
Awesome. All right. I'm
Yeah.
gonna share my screen real quick. Let me see. Maybe window. Yeah, we'll share that one. All right. So,
Okay.
all right. I
Uh,
thought why not do this? Let me see if I can make this somehow smaller. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Uh, let's just do that. All right. So I you hear this a lot. You hear the term land back a lot, and I think it causes a lot of questions for people, and what does that mean? Are are Native people wanting everything back right now, and do people have to? If you're not Native, do you have to leave America? Type of thing. And I thought, if there's questions all over the board, and people really wondering how this works, and let's talk a little bit about it and get a better gist of what this movement means. And I think it would really depend on the people you ask. um for there are some native groups within the United States that say, when you talk about land back, what do they mean? And they'll say, yeah, we want it all back. Then you'll get others that have a different idea about what they mean, and they fall into probably four camps of people. um and Four camps of people on, and their idea of what they understand land back the land back movement to be. So I thought I'd just talk to you a little bit about how it starts. Okay. And I one of the things that I share in my classes is the John Marshall trilogy. And early on in the Supreme Court, there uh, you know they came to realize, as cases involving tribes were coming into the court, they realized that this isn't something that they took into account of. They This is probably this wasn't something that they assumed would be carrying on forever. I don't think they expected that tribes would be treated as governments for this long. The Up at this point, you know, everywhere colonialism happened, the indigenous people of those areas, they would slowly be absorbed into the colonist empire. They would adopt that religion, they would adopt that language, and they would adopt those ways of life of their colonizer, and life would just move on. And that wasn't happening here. And so when this case called Johnson v. McIntosh first got to the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court justices really had to figure out how do we show. Um, if you could turn off your mic, I'd appreciate that. Um, how do we show that we as the United States Supreme Court have jurisdiction or authority to even hear these cases? And something that uh, John Marshall did is he brought in what we call the doctrine of discovery. The doctrine of discovery has its roots during the Christian Crusades of the soon after the passing of the Christian Savior Jesus Christ. And they spread this word to the world, and some people say, "Oh, we're looking for the Holy Grail too." Maybe, I don't know, but it was in the very least it was a proselytizing effort and a conversion type of effort that went out. But this idea was that Christian Christian countries could do this. They could go out to different areas and they could lay claim to lands not held by Christians and civilize the area. And they could do it all in the name of Christianity. And that was based on this idea that um, the Pope had spiritual jurisdiction over the entire world and could make these happen. But colonialism in itself was this idea. If you really look at European countries, they're very tiny compared to the United States. Compared to the original 13 colonies, they're still pretty small. And so the availability of resources, the availability of things to use and provide to your people was really short, and they extracted so much so fast. They didn't have a whole lot of natural resources to use with their own people. So colonialism allowed these European countries to go to other parts of the world, lay claim to that land, and then export their natural resources and their goods back into European society. And so that's how they survived. Was building up large gold coffers and expanding their militaries, and just directing newly colonized areas to send their products back to Europe. The Johnson v. McIntosh, this is their definition of this doctrine of discovery. It says the Supreme Court held that European explorers' discovery of land occupied by Indian tribes gave the discovering European nation, and in this case, they were talking about England, and the USA as its successor, right? After the Revolutionary War, the United States inherits this land, an exclusive right to extinguish the Indian titles of occupancy either by purchase or conquest. And they say this, sometimes we've purchased it, and sometimes we've maintained these lands by the sword, right? That they used military force to occupy these lands. And the purchase, and the question in the court opinion was, how was this purchase made? And the answer was through Christianity and civilization. I'm bringing Christianity and civilization to your land, and that allows me to lay claim to all your lands as our own. Um, and if the federal government, if the United States owns all the land, what then do tribes have? What type of title do tribes have to say that reservation land is Indian country, or allotments are Indian country, or native communities are Indian country. The Supreme Court said tribes have a right of occupancy, and that's, as opposed to what we would say in law as fee simple absolute. Fee simple absolute. If you have that kind of title, it means you own this property outright. It's yours. No one can take it from you. The government can, but after with just compensation, but it's yours. This right of occupancy, when I first heard that, it felt just really weak and really loose, and it was really bothersome for me, because I thought, well, the right of occupancy, that's not a lot of ownership for tribes. But I'm probably, a lot of you are thinking the same thing right now and sharing the concerns I had. But as Indian law develops, the Supreme Court expands upon what that right of occupancy really means. And it comes to the point where the right of occupancy almost has the same definition as fee simple absolute, the highest land right you could hold. There's a few things that a few privileges in fee simple absolute that don't exist in right of occupancy. Uh, and the main one is that tribes cannot give away title. They can't sell land and give legal title to land being sold. That's something that only the federal government can do. And so, right of occupancy, fee simple absolute, pretty close, minus a few owners' privileges like the ability to sell. But this is where the start of land taking comes in, right? Is right when you discover that land, right when you put that flag down. And as soon as you figure out that the occupants of this land are not Christian, you lay claim to all that land. So if someone were to ask, when did the land back movement start? I'm sure if you asked natives in 1490 or in 1609 when Jamestown, or 1598 when Roanoke started, land back probably started then. Hey, what are you doing here? This is ours, but it's progressed to mean something more now, and it, given current circumstances, what more could it mean? And so let's talk about that a little bit. Uh, I guess I didn't see this, but another reason why land back is being sought is it wasn't just the early European claims to indigenous soil, but also after tribes were put on reservations, um, the federal government decided that they wanted to free up the middle part of America, right? I'm sure you've seen the gold rush or land rush uh, 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 notices like the one I have here. Some say free land, some say land very cheap, penny an acre or something like that. And what happened is when the federal government decided to open up Oklahoma to have towns built and settlements built, so that people trying to go from east to west, they have somewhere to buy new supplies, repair wagons, and maybe update their livestock, who are pretty tired by that point. Um, to make that happen, they needed land to open up in the middle. And the land that was available in the middle was in Indian Territory. And so the federal government surveyed the reservations in Indian Territory and put them into 160-acre plots. And if you were a head of household, married and had children, you would get one of these 160-acre plots. And you can look here, you can see names on them. There's one Fanny Black Horse, Rose Blue Tomahawk, Julia White Bear. If you didn't have a family, you're just a single adult male, they gave you 80 acres. And they made these allotment assignments all over Indian country, not just Oklahoma, but all over Indian country. I'm sure if there are probably native people right now participating in this call, that their families probably have allotments, there's an ownership interest in that, a different type of ownership interest. And you can inherit that land, you can pass it on to your relatives through wills, you can do all this stuff. But anyway, after they assigned all these native families and heads of households a parcel of land that had been surveyed, the remaining lands were called surplus lands. And Congress would pass what we call a surplus act that took ownership of those lands out of the hands of the tribe and opened it up for non-Indian settlement. Um, and sometimes they're called surplus land acts, sometimes they're called homestead acts, things like that. But it removes land that's been surveyed from Indian hands and it opens up for non-Indian settlement. So we have initial, doctrine discovery claims on land, and then we have, you know, uh, lands given away, given away by congressional action through things like the allotment process and open surplus land acts and homestead acts. So knowing that background on how natives had lost land in different ways. I skipped wars. I skipped treaty renegotiations after they'd been broken. There's things happen too, but we're just concentrating on this issue right here. What is land back? And I found an article and a person wrote, well, the land and back, we want it back. um, but more than anything, it's about reminding each other as Native people and strengthen our relationship with Earth. Um, Reminding the world that of a Native point of view that this relationship with land and is something that is like having a relationship with your relatives, and that land is part of your community, it's part of your tradition, it's part of your culture, it's where your food stems from, it's where your language, sometimes languages are built around geographic formations, um, culture, right? A lot of native culture includes uh, the the geography, the landscape, the mountains hold stories, plants hold stories, valleys have stories, animals have stories, but it's linked into your culture. So to just walk away from land or be removed from land can be culturally traumatic for people, especially if maybe you're removed from a mountain that was culturally the the origin and start of your people, and you're like, oh my gosh, how can I do that? How can I leave um, where my people came from, where Creator wanted us to be and wanted us to live? How can we leave there and listen? And so trying to restore that relationship, whether by getting title to that land back or at least getting access to that land back to so that relationship can heal and move forward. Land back also means co-management, stewardship, consultation, talking with tribes on areas that tribes traditionally have used, has been traditionally part of their land. It's part of their culture. Um, Consult with tribes, give them some authority uh, so that they can help you make good decisions about land usage, but also preserving their indigenous cultures and providing information about why this area may be sacred. And the idea that land is a sacred experience in itself. And we'll talk a little bit about that later, and we discussed the Black Hills. But this wasn't a place that people said, we're dedicating this area as a sacred place. These places are sacred because the Creator told us they were sacred, right? These places are sacred because they've always been sacred. You can feel it. And when you get there, there's something special about this area. And we'd like access back to those places. One way to do that is through government action. You know, uh, either congressional action or executive action, uh, or just executive push, right? During President Nixon's administration, he was able to champion through Congress a way for Taos Pueblo to get Blue Lake back. We have, my wife and I have really good friends that live in Taos Pueblo, and we visited them once, and we're actually living in Albuquerque, just she and I, and it was really hot that summer, and so he invited us to stay with him in Taos, and we went up there, and it's higher, it's a higher in elevation, so it was a little cooler up there. But I remember I was talking to him, and I was like, hey, can you take me to Blue Lake? And he's like, nope, can't take you to Blue Lake. He's like, come on, no. He goes, I can't take you to Blue Lake. I said, why? He goes, because you're not a tribal member, and only tribal members are allowed at Blue Lake. We had to get this area back. So Taos Pueblo, they have like maturity ceremony for boys and girls, and they teach them their culture, they teach them their tribal religion, they teach them dances and songs. They go over this over a period of years, and when they complete their training, they take their moccasins off and they put them on the shores of Blue Lake. And that's why you're not allowed to go there. There used to probably be hundreds of moccasins up there, but it was included as part of a national forest, and the whole place just got looted, and all those things were taken just by tourists and people visiting, and probably animals too. Animals chewing on leather like to do that. But the tribe had asked Nixon to remove that from that national forest so that they could have access back to it, so that they could practice that that important, unique part of their culture where Blue Lake was essential, and there was no compromise there. There was no substitute but Blue Lake, and through Nixon's urging, Congress is able to restore Blue Lake back to the Taos Pueblo. And so that's a way to get that back, right? A place can be sacred and can be essential and unique for things. And if tribes have good relationships with government, and there's good people in government at that time, you can do things like this and make things happen that way through legislative or executive action. Land back has also been seen through private individuals. In California, the Tongva people, they got land back from a lady named Sharon Alexander in 2022. She had a few acres there, and she found out that it used to be part of the Tongva people's land, and so she got a hold of them and said, "Hey, um, I'd like to give this back to you and just move on." And it had a little house, a little garden on it, and had all these things on it, and the Tongva people were really grateful for her, and they thank her for it. So this is a way that can happen too, where private individuals can recognize the land they're on, and agree to return that land back to the tribe. And this was a non-Indian individual that was able to do that. Um, Something that's also happening is tribal purchasing of land. A lot of tribes' reservations have shrunk due to encroachment and legislative action and executive action, but they're slowly purchasing land back. And in fact, there was a huge civil lawsuit and called Cobell v. Norton. Eloise Cobell was a member of the Crow Indian tribe, and she had allotted lands. She had lands that her family had by allotment that she leased out to to individuals like cattle owners or sheep owners, and they would graze on her land, and they would pay her. They didn't pay her directly because even though it was an allotment and title was in her name, they had to pass it through the Bureau of Indian Affairs. So the Bureau of Indian Affairs would actually negotiate the leasing price, and they would collect payment, and then they would write a check to the landowners, the allotment holders, and send that check to them. But in allotments, after generations of people passing away and it being passed on to remaining kids and grandchildren and great grandchildren, some people have a really small interest in that land, meaning there's like probably 300 people that own a piece of this 160-acre allotment. All right. Maybe there's more people involved in that. There's people that said that their interest in an allotment after generations of it being fractionated was like 1 foot by 1 foot. And so their portion of the grazing fee that was collected was really small because it was in proportion to the amount of ownership you had in the land. So if you had like a 1% ownership, sometimes you'd be receiving a check for like 30 cents or 20 cents. Pretty soon it started costing the BIA, it was more money to print the check than the amount written on the check. So they had these ideas of, well, we'll just hold on to your money until it reaches a certain amount, and then we'll cut a check at that time. And a lot of the Indian allottees were okay with that because they didn't want to cash a 50-cent check either, right? So they'd rather cash something in the hundreds, and so they would wait. Eloise Cobell ended up waiting a long time once, and she was just wondering what happened. So she went into the BIA office, asked them what happened, and they're like, "Oh, I've got to check on that." And she was, "Well, at least can you tell me how much money I have in my account?" And they couldn't even do that because after many changes in administration, people forgot to collect payment. People forgot to renew leases. People forgot to cut checks. People weren't even keeping track of the money that was in any of these accounts. So Eloise Cobell sued them for an accounting. And the federal government ended up paying like 500 like billion dollars back to all these allottees who were never receiving money for years for their allotted lands. And so part of that settlement, though, was that tribes would have, or individual Indians that own allotments, they could sell land back to their tribe at Fairmont, and the federal government would pay for it for them. So if I had like a 1 acre share in an allotment and I didn't want to use it anymore, the part of this settlement of this Cobell lawsuit was that the government would purchase that 1 acre back on behalf of the tribe so the tribe could have it. And these land buyback programs are part of this settlement. But also, there's also voluntary sales. People they're not going to force anybody to sell back to the tribe. These are all voluntary sales. And after the tribe buys enough fractionated pieces of an allotment, then they add up all that area and are able to do land exchanges with the federal government to add land to their reservation that's closer to their borders and things. So you can get land back this way, right? Through tribes have an opportunity to purchase land back. Land back when it deals with Bears Ears is probably a little different. Bears Ears is sacred, it's holy, it's traditional to a number of tribes in southeastern Utah. Um, and they want it protected, and they're usually in a battle between the state of Utah and conservative movements in the federal government that want access to uranium or other precious metals that are in that area. Um, Tribes realize that this is federal land, and at this point they realize the federal government's not going to give it back to them. But what they were able to achieve is a type of co-management and co-stewardship over Bears Ears so that they could have a say on the type of developments that take place there if those developments take place. They can provide insight to locations of sacred sites and understanding the area to make sure that it's protected as much as it can be, whatever situation or environment that they find it in. So land back doesn't always necessarily mean give me title back to land, but it can mean also a co-management of federal lands to ensure that it's being taken care of in the right way. Uh, Land back could also mean, hey, just give us it back. Under the Fort Laramie Treaty of 1851 and of 1868, the Black Hills were recognized as Sioux land. And then in 1876, uh, George Armstrong Custer led a military expedition up that way because they located gold in the Black Hills, and the United States wanted it. They wanted it bad. They wanted to take it from the Sioux people, and they went into negotiation with the Sioux people, and the Sioux people said, "No, it's a holy site, right? It's a holy area. We're not. It's not area. It's not for sale." So in 1877, the U.S. government just took it, and that resulted in a lot of litigation, where the tribe is trying to get it back, uh, but that's a no-go for the federal government. They do not want to give it back. I mean, there's efforts to discourage the Sioux nations from wanting claim to the Black Hills, like, right? So, hey, do you still want it back? We're going to put four presidents' faces on it. Is it still sacred to you? Do you still want it? And they do. The Sioux tribes, they want access back to the Black Hills, and they want ownership of it. After years of litigation, the court awarded like $100 million, $105 million to the Sioux tribes as payment for the Black Hills, because the U.S. just was not willing to give it back, and the courts aren't as unbiased as we'd like them to be, and so they said, well, then you have to at least pay for it. So they offered $105 million. The Sioux nations have never accepted it, and today, with interest, it's around $1.8 billion sitting there. And they're still frequently asked questions. They'll approach these Sioux tribes and say it's almost $2 billion. Isn't that enough for the Black Hills? And they say no. It's never for sale. This is our holy area. And before it was Lakota or Dakota holy areas, it was Comanche holy areas, it was Kiowa holy areas, and a lot of these tribes recognized the Black Hills as a holy place, not because someone told them it was holy, is because these tribes that were in these areas at these different time periods, they felt a sacred, the sacredness there. They felt a power there that they believed benefited their people and didn't want to let go of. So it's you can so there's land back through litigation and continued lobbying, where it just doesn't stop sometimes. This was older, a couple years old. Mauna Kea, they're going to put an observatory on top of a mountain in Hawaii, and the people protested that because that was a sacred place for them. That mountain, that's where their holy people live. That's where Hawaii originated. That's the Hawaiian belief. That's the origin of Hawaii. That's the origin of all Hawaiian people. Um, you know, Traditionally, they in back in the day, there was burial sites up there, locations. There's altars up there where people worshipped, and so they were trying to protect that area. And I don't think they were very successful. But for them, would we like to have it back? Absolutely. Would we settle for you just not desecrating it? Yes. And that's so there's a lot of things that's a big spectrum just right there in itself on what land back could mean. But why it matters? Uh, well, you know, it's the one thing, I guess, that probably the U.S. government can't do fully and entirely. If we look back at all Indian wars across the United States, they just weren't over nothing. Indian wars in the United States, they're more correctly they should be more correctly referred to as Indian land wars. Every war dealt with land, about encroachment, about being pushed out of your area, trying to get it back. Even the killing of livestock was probably, hey, your livestock's on my land, right? It's so it these this idea that wars are just just off of hey, you guys live different from us, so we're gonna go to battle. That wasn't the case most of the time. Most of the time it was, we need your area, we want your area, we're expanding. And and these wars were a result of natives fighting back against encroachment, and the US government pushing forward. And so what could heal that relationship, what could heal that historical trauma? Maybe land back is where it's at. um, and it matters because not all tribes still live where they used to live. They were moved, relocated, and they would, like some say, to those sacred areas that were lost, and that when being relocated to different areas, they would like to tell you the stories behind those areas, so you can keep that in mind in cases of ideas of development come up, and what kind of development would work and what should be avoided. It's the protection of natural resources, where there's we can't just strip the land of everything within it. We have to preserve some of those things to keep the earth healthy, to keep the land healthy in that way. um, it supports indigenous future and self-determination. Without a geographical land base, it's hard to grow a population. It's hard to develop economically. It's hard to preserve cultural things that are important and vital to the sustaining of an entire tribe, an entire reservation. And it helps tribes be in control of the development of their own land, so that they can receive some type of economic justice. Okay. uh, and it supports the federal push for self-determination. It supports the idea that tribes are in the best position of understanding their culture, understanding their lands, and what the best ways would be to move forward on this land in its development. um, so I really do enjoy um, this younger generation of student, of people that are seeing the possibilities of what it means to be Indian, but what's also what cultural and people preservation looks like. And it's a very bold move, and I applaud people for it, and I hope that we can work together on 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 getting or using land as a healing medicine for the for the relationship and damage that exists between Indian tribes and state and federal government. That's all I got. If you have any questions, I'll stay on just a little bit to answer those.
Huh. You know, Dustin, just to comment on that, those sites that you have, you talked about, I think there are a lot of other sites all over the United States. Black Hills, the Bears Ears, you even have around the uh, Seneca Nation with Niagara Falls, the Grand Tetons. These were basically sites where uh, the natives, they worship their traditions. And you look into the history of those sites, you see that most of them are now national parks. you know um, and I think one of the most controversial today is the Flat Oak. It's on the Apache Reservation in southern Arizona, and basically it's the same premise in terms of they want the land because they have natural resources in that land on that reservation. So I think that this is something that this whole process started with the doctrine of discovery, and that kind of set the motion of all of this that's happening today. You know, what happens if we had the reversed? You know, if we went way back when, if we had a few of the natives, they went to Europe and planted their native flag, you know, would they have been native country now? But you know, that's
Well, they
you
almost
just
pull it
kind of
off in
switch the
Alcatraz.
tables. Yeah, but you know that those are things that I think it's they write laws that we like to nourish your government, you know, to make your government work for you, you know, like with the Self-Determination Act. Uh, but when we start to, you know, not all native, you know, all native tribes is trying to improve their living conditions, their social conditions, the education conditions, and that piece is written within the self-determination. Once they have that started, they says no, 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 we didn't really mean that, we meant it this way. So you know there's a lot of contradiction there too, so I think um, there's a lot of work that's been done, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done. So that's just my thoughts and comment.
Thank you. I agree with everything you said.
Now, any comments out there? I know you guys have something on your mind today. I can
You
feel it
don't
where I'm sitting.
you don't have to though. You don't have to.
I just think like I just go back to a lot of the tribal nations and how um they have that principle that the land does not belong to any one person. You know, because we have to share all of the resources on the land, not only with our neighbors, but also with the animals and and all that reside on Mother Earth. And so, but yeah, it's really interesting to see all the different historical implications of how a lot of the land was distributed and how that's still an issue today. Like I know, like with even my tribe, on the Navajo Nation, the Netaniglini, um, they have home site lease, and a lot of the people have land disputes, like what Dustin was saying about, well, it is Shakaya, you know, and so they won't sign off on other people moving into the area because they have to have signatures for the home site lease. And so it gets to be very controversial, I think, even amongst neighbors and relatives. And then sharing like the grazing permits for that land as well. So like back in history when they had the Reduction Act,
Mhm.
where they had to reduce a lot of their livestock because of erosion and different things. Well, that took a huge hit on our people with like, um, you know, their income and all of the things that they were using their livestock for. And so just a lot of the different things I was thinking about as Dustin was um, presenting about land back. And so, but I think everybody could be good stewards of the land and take care of it because I know, like even I was thinking about the fires in California that's so devastating for all the homes that were lost. But then I was thinking to rebuild them, they're going to have to cut down more trees. They're going to have to um, dig into more of our mountains to gather more concrete and gravel to rebuild. And so it does have like a ripple effect, everything that happens. And so it's just interesting. Anyways, that's just my thoughts. Thank you, Dustin, for your presentation.
Thank you for your comments. It's awesome.
Okay. Anybody else make a
Uh,
comment,
Clayton?
like to say something?
Okay, yeah, I know. So thank you, Dustin.
Okay, Clayton.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess you can hear me.
Oh,
Yeah, you know what? I'm working on a my coworker and I are working on a little piece up in a school called, it used to be called Zihi Olta. Zihi Olta is there as a government school for years, and then now it's no longer there. And only because it couldn't function, no funds. I guess, what was it, Reagan that came and cut down government costs on various places, and so that's how that closed. But what the reason why we're part of that is apparently at the beginning there were a lot of Navajos that went up there. I mean, that was the only tribe that actually went to school there. And as time went on, the artists were actually the ones that, or the art teachers actually allowed the students to paint or to do murals. I mean, wall murals, not just small paintings. Dormitories. It's the artists, the art teacher saying, this is your home. This is a place that and we want you to paint. And so they did. And so about 11 big murals were actually saved because it was the buildings were being demolished. But Utah State University bought that place, and so that's the reason why we want to kind of honor that place and have an annual get together for those that have been there. And there are quite a few folks that are still living today that actually went to school there, and they're grandparents today. But as I was looking at the different things that we have to maybe talk about, one of them is this idea of self-determination, and it's dealing with education. Education is a way to better our people, and then I saw the word sovereignty. Sovereignty is a self-governing thing, and yet the federal government is still kind of overseeing each of the tribes, at least in the United States, that the sovereignty is not 100%. We call ourselves a nation, but we only have a certain amount of sovereignty still. I was up up north in the Yukon, visiting with chiefs and things, and they actually have what they call it's kind of like this idea of land back, but the idea is the government actually is having the native take over their land again, but yet still be overseen by the government. It's still a lot of rules to abide by, but they meaning the natives up there, they can actually build whatever, and it seems more based on like do it together, not just one or two people, but maybe as a tribe figure out a system for how to care for this land that's given back. And it's a little bit, in a way, it's like better than a reservation idea, where there's a lot more control by the local native folks. Anyway, I don't know if Dustin, if you have a little glimpse of that one or not. That's it.
Thank you. I think there's plus and minuses to the system that they have up in Alaska, and and down here also. The tribes and the villages up in Alaska, they've incorporated. Although they make up 200 and some tribes within the 574 recognized tribes in the United States, their land's a little different. They hold their land in fee simple. They can sell it, they can lease it, but they have to pay taxes on it, in that way. They also are able to, instead of having they have what you have a board of directors that makes all these decisions in regards to lands. And sometimes they enter into relationships with non-Indian organizations and give them seats on that board, which causes a lot of tribal members to be nervous about it because um, there are non-Indians making decisions about Indian lands on these boards, and it's a little scary. I think that I don't know if we're ever going to step away from federal oversight, especially when there's money involved and there's natural resources involved. I think that's if you really want to upset the government, start messing with money, and you'll get a response really quick from the government. Uh, but I think you're right. I think some of the things that they have up in those Alaskan areas, they give them a lot more options to develop economically and to preserve areas of importance to them. And I think that there still has to be a better way of things, and hopefully we can find that and get to it. We can always get better. Thanks, Clan.
Okay. Anyone else like to make a comment or say something? Okay, I guess not. Hey, Dustin, thank you for
Hey.
your I guess the words that you gave to us today is very, very insightful.
I appreciate.
We appreciate what you do, and the providing this professional development for all our folks, and it makes us grow. It makes us
Yeah.
appreciate, and I thank you for that. So
Absolutely, and thank you to everyone here, all your Title VI coordinators and community members that are just trying to make the effort to learn a little more, so that we can help our youth more. And so I appreciate that effort, and thank you for letting me be a part of it in this way. But you all have a good day and a very good weekend. Safe travels if you go somewhere. Stay healthy, guys. We'll see ya.
thank you. Okay, let's move on. We have a presenter. I know that there are a few new Title VI coordinators. I've gone to visit a few of the sites where they're new, and I still have a few more that I need to visit. But during my visitation, they're looking for some ideas, looking for some suggestions, and I start to think about some of the um, coordinators have been around the block a few times. In my words, is have been around the Hogan or been around the teepee a few times. So I think our presenter Eileen would give us that opportunity, because a little bit about her history is that she spent quite a number of years in Nebo School District. And during those years, it was very, very dismal. The program was, until Eileen stepped in. She had this vision. From this vision, it start to carry itself. And, from there, it's, I guess Eileen's going to talk a little bit about that, but I don't want to burst her bubble. So, but it's a full-blown program now that I feel, and she's nationally known among all Title VI folks across the nation. I do have Title VI meetings, state directors of Indian Ed with other states. And, oftentimes they mention Title VI from Nebo School District, which is Eileen's group. So we have a lot to be proud of. And so I thought that today would be one of those opportunities. Pick up your pen, a pencil. You have an opportunity to get some ideas, and she'll, I guess she's going to go ahead and showcase some of what she's doing in her program. So I'll give the floor to Eileen. Thank you for coming, Eileen. Thank you for accepting this invitation.
But ani dashi chedo kia ani dashi nale akut as essentially I am from the Nearwater clan, born for the Edgewater people. My maternal grandparents are from the Folded Arms clan. Paternal are from the Towering House clan. And I have worked with Indian Ed for, my goodness, 27 years now. And it's been quite a journey. Hey, Dr. Foster, how much time do you want me to take?
Oh, 30 minutes. I mean, you can go beyond that if you want. We just
Okay.
like to hear what you have, because I think, again, I'm looking at improving our programs, and some of them are starting out new, and some are looking for ideas and suggestions. And, you could give us the insight on that.
Okay, can you see this?
No, we don't see your screen.
Okay, let's see. I'm gonna go to share.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Okay.
All right. There we
Okay.
go.
All
I'm
right.
gonna go through this really quick. And if you will just follow along, this is the team that I work with. There's Kelly Cabarrus is the only one that's no longer with us. I have a new tech that's working with me in her place. But I'm under Alicia Rudd, who is over federal programs in the school district. And then I have four amazing people. Natalie's here with me today. Shoshana, Allison, and Annalicia, and Mackenzie Wilbur is our newest one. So I have all of these people who are part-time divided over 4 different regions of our territory. So I'll kind of talk a little bit about that as we go through the presentations. You can find us on YouTube. We have our own YouTube channel. It's called Nebo Title VI Indian Education. We're also on Instagram and also on Facebook. Okay, so I know that financial is a huge thing. So in the last count that we had, these are the amounts of monies that we got from EASY. We have about 240 of our students that have the 506 forms, approximately 500 altogether with self-identified and those that have 506 forms. It's about $223.41 per student that we service, that we get from the federal government to service all the children for a full year. So our objectives are early childhood education preparation, cultural information, and suicide prevention. The funding that I get is not enough to be able to do some of the programmatic activities with the students that I work with. So what I like to do is partner with other programs like Adopt a Native Elder, BLM, the USVE sometimes gives us money. So thank you, Dr. Foster, for giving us that very needed money to run a lot of our services. Urban Indian Center is a great partner to as a community resource. Sacred Circle, Thanksgiving Point is a really good partner for us too. Some of the grants that I used in the past was Utah Arts Council and Running Strong for Native Youth. Service hours are things that I always like to get the students involved with, and people donating time to help with labs and activities. Donations, we often receive donations of monies for scholarships, supplies, books, etc. And we couldn't do any of these things if we didn't have their help. What I want to do is go through kind of from the beginning of the year. These are some of the things that we do as a team to get ready with students. way back in August and September, we do a back to school night where we share Title VI information, and I'll usually write a grant for Running Strong, and they'll send me backpacks with school supplies, and we'll distribute those at our back to school night. We'll pull all the grades and attendance for all of our students, make sure that the 11th and 12th grade students are on track for graduation, or find out where they are credit wise. In October, we do an annual Natani Day. It's a leadership day where we invite all the secondary students to come into the district office, and we have a motivational speaker, and we do a full day's thing of motivating our students to do really good this year. We also visit during September and October our 30 elementary school to all the 4th grade classes. We do presentations, take a traveling museum, and do contributions of American Indians to global society. You can find that on our website, and you're welcome to use it or adapt it to fit your needs. We do a Halloween social in November. We do Native American Peoples Day. We got bombarded with invitations to present at many, many places. So that was a fun and crazy, busy month. We again pull midterm grades and attendance, find out who is struggling, pull them into our after school homework lab, and I'll talk about that in the presentation. December is our service learning project Christmas party with a distribution with coats and winter gear and all of that from Running Strong that I write. January is our Title VI drive. Our deadline for part 1 usually happens, but it's a little bit different every year, so don't count on that timeline. Winter storytelling in February. We're doing a digital stories Native Youth Film Festival this year in February on the 24th. So all people are invited to that. Name conference and midterms pulled again. March, Dream Starter nominee, Title VI grant. And April, we usually travel to Dream Starter Academy with our nominee. And May is Senior Spotlight. All of June is our Camp Eagle Summer School. We've been running this Camp Eagle Summer School for almost as long as we've been in operation. So kind of that gives you an idea of our school year. Professional development and in-service training, NIEA. We try to participate in NAME conference. Last year, we weren't able to do the Heritage Language Conference. They're trying to, we're not able to hit as many conferences as we used to. And then with USB teacher training, we're able to invite our librarians, counselors, and teachers in the month of July that I do usually a professional development workshop, a 2-day one. So that one's open to all of you if you want to join us. Okay. Services that support culture, language, and traditions, Navajo language classes with Clayton. We love Clayton and his language and government classes. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be able to access that Manuelito scholarship that we need desperately for our students. Another thing that we do is the digital storytelling workshop, and we're working on that project right now. Film festival on February 24th. Indigenous opera. About 4 years ago, I came across a person that was doing opera, teaching students how to do opera. And I told her I would like to do opera, but I want to indigenize it. And so we came up with 3 operas last year. Summertime Camp Eagle, powwow, prayer runs, Native Film Festival, cultural workshops at the labs. And then we do Earth Connection with Dr. Foster and Tooele and the Salt Lake Urban Indian Center and all that in the summertime. We love to do native foods, whether it's in gardening, foraging, or just cooking. Navajo rug making, we've held several workshops and have made quite a few rugs. Drum making, last summer we had 40 hand drums that were made, and we're learning songs and using them. Powwow dance is always a part of our Camp Eagle and our after school labs. Native clubs and parent regalia class is a part of our program. We visit Native clubs in secondary schools once a month throughout the district, and parent regalia class once a week on Mondays from 10 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon. The parent committee kind of works with that. We have a performing arts group partnership with community events to showcase our students. This is a picture of presentation to 4th grade where we talk about Indigenous languages, foods, medicines, inventions, and heroes, sharing that Native perspectives expand the social, political, and economic dialogue. We have contributed massive contributions to global society, and we love sharing that. I like doing this with our non-Native school staff and students. Parent committee, here's the list of our parent committee. They meet once a month, but a lot of times they meet weekly. A lot of them will come into the parent regalia classes or after school lab and casually talk over some of the points that we're working on and resolve some of those things. Sometimes we do have struggles, so this is always changes from year to year. Parent committee activities, they help us take care of the ambassador leadership pageant, where we have an ambassador, older male and female, and then a younger student, male and female, to represent our program. Regalia class, powwow fundraiser, their monthly meetings. Halloween and Christmas, they're really active and help us with those events. Winter Storytelling Festival, they usually sell food to raise money for scholarships. And this is what's cool. Our parent committee have given over 60 scholarships. They raise the money themselves. They give $500 scholarships to buy books and supplies for college students to get them started. And they also make stoles for the graduating seniors. Here's pictures of the parent committee doing their work, and you see a lot of the kids' outfits. That's what was made on in the regalia class. So in stoles for the graduating seniors. Running Strong is a big partner for Indian Ed here in Nebo. Billy Mills is the founder of that. He's a great advocate for Native youth. He chooses 10 American Indian students from across the nation, and they get, if they have a community service project that they want to work with their community, they can get $20,000. They up that $10,000 grant. And we've had the honor of being able to have 5 Dream Starters that have done this. So we're really proud of them. These are the Dream Starters. In 2018, Rose Quintana did hers on protecting bears' ears, like it protected her people. And then Taylor Eddy did hers to show the students careers in agriculture. And Shakota Billy did hers on health and wellness. Alfredo Quintana did his on social action and bringing Native Americans to visibility in the public school system. And Sarah Powell did hers on environmental justice. She did an indigenous garden. This poster campaign was something that Alfredo did to bring awareness. We printed up pictures of students, and they were able to be displayed throughout the school district. These are the garden. This is the garden that Sarah did. We grew a garden, foraged for indigenous plants and foods, and learned about the seeds and planted them along with our vegetable seeds. You can see the kids working here to do that. And then when harvest comes, we usually will dry the corn, store it, and we're able to use it for making recipes during the winter time. And we will take field trips out around our surrounding areas, picking what we can. Last summer, I think we picked Brigham tea that grew around here. We couldn't find any Navajo tea. We found some juniper for juniper ash. We found some pine nuts. Not a lot of it, but these are the pictures from that. Natalie sends out newsletters monthly, and we're doing this, and I'll show you a little bit of that as we go on. Native clubs are held in each of the middle schools and the high schools and junior highs. Here's pictures of Native clubs and what they do. This is a little bit of information about our district. We have 30 elementary schools. We run their progress reports, reading level reports, CRT scores. The middle schools, we have 5 of them. We have 7 junior highs. We do those things that's listed below. We have 7 senior high schools, and those make up about 1% of our total NEBO student population. Okay, our goal is to increase attendance and high school graduation rate. Dedicated staff to track seniors. Annalisa Allison devotes 20 hours per week. I have her in charge of only taking care of seniors. She tracks their credits. She does the newsletters for seniors that go out to them and their families, weekly communications with the parents and counselors. She does the senior spotlights, graduation stalls, and by parent committee and college preparation workshops that we do. 20 years ago, our graduation rate, when I started working, I was shocked to find out that our graduation rate for Native American students was 37%, meaning 63% were dropping out. And so this scared the living daylights out of me, and we started putting the after school homework lab together, where we met twice a week, and we still have that in practice, and started our summer school about a year after we started the program. In 2016, Jalen Jones, a former director, proposed a goal for 100% graduation rate, and we've been able to reach that 5 times. Each year, our goal is 100% graduation rate for our seniors, and the national graduation rate for Native seniors is 72%. Since 2015, our graduation rates among Natives hasn't fallen under 93%. So we're real proud of that. And this is the numbers that's run by NIEA. 72% of our Native students graduate. Native students in BIE schools, 53%. National average graduation rate is 85%. Here is Nebo School District's graduation rate. The dark bars are the Nebo Title VI kids that have the 506 forms. And then the light colored are the self-identified that the state identifies. Senior spotlights. Anna does these, and she will tell a little bit of information about those students. And let's see, we reach out to parents, counselor trackers, and teachers to let them know that we're available to tutor students, mentor, and help them with credit recovery. So I'm going to just go through this real quickly. August, those are things we do. September, October, these are the things that Annalisa goes through with the seniors. November, she has her own timeline that she works with seniors on. February, March, April, and May, these are her priorities. We meet every other week, so the whole team meets every other week to collaborate and brainstorm and get our upcoming events ready. Okay, after school lab, Shoshana Allison is in charge of that. And we meet at Spanish Oaks on Mondays, family night once a month, Springvale Junior High every Wednesday from 3:30 to 5:30, Parkview Elementary every Thursday from 3:15 to 5:15. This is during the school year. Here's our students, some of the events we've had. This is a schedule of the way we run our after school homework lab. Brain builders, the kids come in and start with this. We'll have a PE, we'll have homework lab and work on projects, and a cultural aspect. Reading is a huge part of our after school lab. We try to do at least 20 minutes of reading every time we meet, because that's very, very important. Some of the things that the kids did was make stuffed animals to hang on their Christmas tree, and little projects, weaving projects for the little tinies. They use those little cardboard looms. Perhaps it's easiest to integrate an actual in-depth study of Indian culture into social studies curriculum. However, discussion of Native culture activities and beliefs can enhance the study of many other subjects, including music, art, mathematics, reading, writing, drama, and physical education. There's one of our latest newsletters, what we're doing, highlights of the school year. We have these, and I'm going to just quickly go through them. Pictures that we took, presentations we did at various places throughout the state. The museums are great partners. It, you know, these points are very important. I love the way Shoshana is able to work the program, and as a team, we make sure that everyone's working with the same goal in mind. Ambassador pageant is another leadership opportunity for students to be able to represent our Indian Ed. Now, what I want to do is I want to go to this, and here is the latest. This is where we're our Indian Ed. If you want to get to our Indian Ed, Google Nebo Indian Education, and it'll bring you into this. Under January newsletter, you will see our newsletter that's currently sent out. Here's our newest member of our team. Highlights. Over the past year.
Okay, are we up to questioning or comments or, uh, I know that some may have some questions, not now, but, they could get in contact with you. Is that correct, Eileen?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think,
okay.
I
All
don't
right.
have any questions, but I just want to say that it's always a pleasure to work with Eileen. She's doing so many great things in her school community, and she's so positive and um, has a lot of information. So yeah, Nadine to Leto Yegon, and we all look up to you as Title VI coordinators and look at what you're doing to kind of inspire what we're doing in our schools. So yeah,
You know,
I'll think so.
I look up to a lot of different programs. So that's how we started, was looking at each other, seeing what could work for our community and everything, and adapting it. So if you have any questions, feel free to come and ask me, and I'll share whatever I can. All right. Thank you.
yeah, thank you, Eileen. That was great. I really enjoyed what you have to offer, and sitting here, I picked up a few ideas that I could probably implement from here. So that's always good. So thank you. Okay. If there's no other comments, let's move on. Um, Down to our Navajo language and government classes. That's Clayton, who's our instructor. This is one avenue where we have an opportunity to learn the language as well as the government classes. Also, for those students who are Navajos that are taking the ACT test and they score beyond that, and one of the requirements is that they should have the Navajo language and government class from an instructor to be played, their grade be placed on their transcript. That qualifies them to potentially receive the Navajo or the Manolito Scholarship Award. So, Clayton, you might want to talk a little bit about that, plus the conclusion of your class with the Navajo class and when the government class starts, and because of the time frame that we have for these classes, first day, hopefully everybody will attend on the first day, not the second or third day, because when that happens, they miss out a lot. So I'll just give the floor to you. You can go from there.
Thanks everybody for staying and listening and participating. Thanks Eileen for your program. One day when I was principal down Montezuma Creek, one day a grandma comes in and says, "Oh, she had the dish, and then I proceeded to say, "What? Why are you saying thank you to me?" And she said, "Jokot esho. Na gaide ya khoje oho wal kha khoje ya ina. Njono hot asas lago ohot nasli." She goes, and I finally dawned on me that that's exactly what we're doing. That we're bringing school and life of our people together. When they see that they're one and the same as a community, not just as children or as mom and dads, but as a community, you actually got to where you're supposed to be at, So anyway, I see the program that Eileen presented is very similar to that they in a lot of ways, the kids and the parents and the grandparents, everybody that has a child in the home, our goal is to see that education and life are basically the same. And it'll go forever and ever. The other one is I thank the Granite School District for allowing us to give out grades for Navajo language, Navajo government. Anytime a parent calls me, they might say, Mr. Long, I need a grade for this child. And I try to let them know that I give a grade, but I don't deliver the grade to the schools. And what that means is that we have to have a school or an organization that can act as a school that receive a grade. So I'm kind of like, I'm a teacher for Granite School District. That's kind of how I see myself. And when I give a grade, I give it to Granite School District, and they contact the various schools and say, here is the grade for so-and-so, and they honor that. And that setup is really for folks that have questions, and even other states would like to jump on board. I know we have some students in Nevada, and they're trying to figure out a way how to honor the system that we have so that their children can receive, a grade for and put on the transcript for their children on their transcript. Anyway, okay, so Navajo language, you get 1 credit. Every child gets 1 credit hour, and it's a little bit longer than the government's class. So we start right after Labor Day, and we get them on board. We get once a week, Tuesdays, for about an hour, maybe a little bit more, and then we close that class in the last Tuesday of February. So we're more than halfway right now, and so this Navajo class is based on interaction. It's a little dialogue, question and answer. I call it question and answer. And the students have to pass that to be able to get, points and things like that. And then if they do high pass offs, then they get that good grade, A, B. Anyway, we do have, I did do a little video clip on each lesson, how you should pass it off. And I told the students, this is probably better than listening to a whole hour of what we did again, over. But if you can just do it for 3 to 5 minutes, not even 5 minutes, maybe about 4 minutes, the video clip on what the class is all about. It's a nutshell of the class of each day, of each time we meet. And that's so to encourage those that sometimes miss class, sometimes not because they want to miss class. It's just that they have another activity that they need to be part of. So that's kind of how we structured it. You can still, as parents, as coordinators, you can still contact me about what's going on. So my focus is just students teaching that part and giving that grade at the end, and then giving it to Granite School District. The other one that I'm talking about right now that needs to happen right now is to have students that took Navajo 1 and now need Navajo government's class. They need to sign up right now. So I can send a form to any one of your school district or your department where you work, and you can share this with parents or kids, and they can come on board. The interesting thing about this is some parents says, can I just sit in? And I say, yeah, you can just come and sit in with your student so that they see what the students are doing. It's just my way of saying, if you're interested, come on, listen in. So Navajo government actually starts in the first Tuesday in March. So we just have a little period. We just have the month of February to finish Navajo 1, and then we go right into Navajo government, and that will go for 2 months. And that's a little shorter only because you get 0.5 credit instead of one credit hour. Each student gets 0.5, half of a credit. And that's the reason why that's structured that way. And plus, we don't really want to go into May because the seniors are scrambling, trying to make sure that they get all the things that they need to prepare for graduation. So any questions that they might have about Navajo One, Navajo government, they can also make sure that they get them, especially the grades, onto the transcripts. Okay, that's the main thing I want that the students have. We do have a Navajo 2, and that's mainly, and we start that along with Navajo 1. It's kind of back to back. And Navajo 2's you don't need it for Manuelito scholarship, but we do have universities that would like a student that comes to take a language test in a particular language. They call it a foreign language experience. And sometimes some of the universities, they say, well, we have a Navajo language class. Yeah, you can get 8 credit hours. Wow, that's a lot. 8 credit hours at your college. And so in order to have that and get those credits, you only need to take Navajo 1 and 2 at the high school level. So that's the reason why we have Navajo 2. Plus, we just want to, those students that are very interested, they want to add a little bit more to their desire to learn Navajo. We usually have that. So some students actually take both of those classes back to back. Even though they're taking Navajo 1, they also take Navajo 2. All right.
There's a question. It asks, when are the times for the class?
Which one? Navajo 1
think-
is on Tuesday at 4.
Okay.
Every Tuesday. And Navajo government is going to be every Tuesday. So Navajo 1 is going to be finished. And then in March, Tuesday, we start the Navajo government's class. Tuesday from 4 until about 6. Okay. Just kind of jam packing everything into an hour and a half. Any other thoughts, questions?
Yeah. Any other questions out there? And possibly, I know that you sent that Navajo government registration to me,
Sure.
and I send it out.
Sure.
Maybe you could send it to me again. I can send it out again.
Sure.
Because
We'll do that.
we surely want to get everybody involved in this process.
Okay, very good.
And someone asked the number of students in your Navajo language class.
Okay.
How many are enrolled?
Enroll is 70 students
Wow.
take Navajo 1. As far as and eventually as we get towards the end, there's some of them that kind of slowly back out. I hope they don't back out because we just need to encourage them to finish all the way. And it's not that we're trying to kind of like weed them out or something like that. It's not that kind of a class. It's the idea of an experience, the experience of going through a language class, and it's not too rigorous because this is the first time they get introduced to a language. And for that reason, we want to have them have a positive experience. And so that's the reason why I want them to hang in there.
Yeah.
So even Navajo government will have the same thing. We'll have about 70 or so students sign up.
Yeah.
And we can handle up to, I think Zoom can handle, at least my Zoom thing. We can handle up to 1,000 people.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions in the chat or verbally?
Yeah, my email, claytonnaz@gmail.com. And just email me anytime.
Yeah. Okay, if there's no other questions, thank you. Yeah. Clayton.
Yeah. I'm going to go on and on.
So, yeah. Oh, okay. let's move on. Is Penelope here or someone from the Urban Indian Center that give us an update on the projects or events they're having at the Urban Indian Center? Okay, if not, let's go down to the last part is the updates. Let me just give you an update on a couple things here. The Utah grants, they gave me that information yesterday. They're going to send out the second allotment of your funding from my office. So I think you may want to check with your business office to see whether it's there or not. And the second announcement is that I met with the Paiute tribal government as well as the Iron School District. This was last semester, and this coming fall, we're developing a Paiute government class similar to the Navajo government class. So I think for the Paiute students, that's exciting for them. They also can partake of their governmental, I guess, information, some of the things that they offer with their government to their students. And I think it's like the Navajo government class. It's open to all races. So they're pretty excited about that, and that's going to start in the fall. So those are basically two things that I have on my updates. Now up there with it, are there any updates from your Title VI programs? Okay, if not, we'll get down to number 8, where we're going to adjourn, and we'll meet again in February the 14th of next month. Okay,
I
go
have one
ahead,
thing,
Brenda.
Dr. Foster. We
Sure.
had our Diné Knowledge Bowl, and so it was a great turnout. We had a good event, and it was at Monument Valley High School. Our students came and they had a performance of demonstrating their traditional cultural skills of singing. And then we had a knowledge bowl, a spelling bee, and a
You're muted, Chuck.
I guess we lost Brenda. Are there any other announcements or updates from any sites, Title VI sites, programs? If not, let's meet again here February the 14th. And again, I thank you guys for your attendance. And, we had a very, very full day there's a lot of information that was given. And, I appreciate our professional development teacher as well as the presenters. And I think Brenda's back on. Brenda, you want to continue with your?
Yeah, I didn't even know that I was off. I'm so sorry. I was just saying that we had our Diné Knowledge Bowl, and we had many of our secondary students compete in kind of like a cultural bowl where we had singing. They did oral language demonstration in Navajo, spelling, a quiz bowl, and then oral language presentation. And so we had some really great performances and presentations that the students came up with. And I was saying that we also had Clayton's grandchildren that participated. So we always have Clayton as a judge. And so this year he was able to be a spectator and cheer on his grandchildren. So it was a really great event. I'm putting together a Canva video that we'll have on our Heritage Language Facebook page, and I'll go ahead and share that with you. So, but anyways, it was good. The kids did a really great job.
Okay.
So that's my announcement.
Oh, well, thank you. Anybody else would like to share their program? And if not, we'll adjourn for today until next month. Okay, well, I wish you guys well. I think we do have a 3-day weekend. I think for most. I'm not so sure you guys all have that, but we'll see you guys again. We'll meet the same place here, same time, different day. No, same day, but a different month of the month. So thank you again, and we'll see you guys soon.
I think